You know what? It is time to turn our eyes once again to the east and look at those turbulent times in history, when the Ottoman Turks went from being nomadic horse lords to masters of the most powerful empire of the 14th century, even earning the title of conquerors. Last time we talked about Orhan, who turned the small Ottoman beylik into a real organized state. But today it's time to talk about his son, Murad I, who will take that already established state and turn it into one of the biggest empires of his day. Welcome back to the channel. It's me, and today we'll talk about Murad I, who earned the title the Sultan of Conquerors during his reign from 1359 to 1389. Murad inherited a state founded by his father in the western part of Anatolia, and he took it far beyond what anyone could have imagined. And yes, because of the nature of the YouTube platform, you probably clicked this video thinking that it's about the guy from Marvel Comics. But no, this Murad is another one. Well, that said, if you are watching this video, then you probably love history and want to learn about it. With the foundation of the Ottoman state laid by Orhan, Murad I was able to focus entirely on expansion, and his first target was naturally the Balkans. During his reign, the Ottomans conquered vast areas of Thrace, Macedonia, and Bulgaria. But Murad wasn't done with that region. His sights were set further north. Soon after taking the throne, he started making plans for a major campaign into the Balkans. But before launching his offensive, he had to settle a score with the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem. In 1359, the Hospitallers raided the Ottoman coast and captured some Turkish prisoners. This didn't sit well with Murad, so he assembled a fleet and sailed to the island of Rhodes, the Hospitallers' base. After a brief siege, the Ottomans captured the city, massacring the Christian population and taking many captives. This victory demonstrated the growing strength of the Ottoman navy and marked the beginning of their dominance in the eastern Mediterranean. But while Murad was active in the Mediterranean, his vizier, the Grand Turk Aladdin Pasha, was busy dealing with a problem that popped up in Anatolia. A local lord named Jure Bey rebelled against Ottoman rule. To solve this issue, Murad called for backup, and upon hearing his call, his brother, the bandit lord Musa Salibi, descended from the mountains with his troops and put down the rebellion. But this wasn't any ordinary suppression of a revolt. No, sir. Musa showed no mercy, killing or enslaving everyone who opposed the Ottomans. Seeing this, Gerard realized that there's no way he can win on his own, so he asked the Mongols for help. When Murad heard about the letter Gerard sent to the Mongols asking for help, he decided to nip the problem in the bud and march towards the rebellious lords. But while on the road, he got word that both the Mongol army and Gerard's men had already clashed with his brother Musa and lost. So he quickly continued his march to reach his brother, expecting a grand victory. But when he arrived, he found something that made him furious. Musa had slaughtered all the prisoners and refused to accept Murad's authority. Seeing his brother's arrogance and disobedience, Murad imprisoned him and took over command of the army. Then he turned his attention to the Mongols and prepared to crush the invaders. At the same time, a delegation of the Golden Horde arrived asking for Murad's hand in marriage for their Khan's son. Murad accepted this proposal, hoping to use this alliance to defeat the other Mongols. With new allies by his side, Murad led his armies into battle. He used cavalry charges to break through enemy lines, showcasing his skilled horsemanship and bravery. In one instance, his horse was injured and he quickly switched to a fresh mount, continuing to fight relentlessly. These tactics and personal bravery demoralized the enemy and contributed to Ottoman victories. After defeating the Mongols, Murad returned to Anatolia to deal with his brother once and for all. Musa fled to the mountains, but soon surrendered. Accepting Ottoman rule and acknowledging Murad's superiority, Murad pardoned his brother and rewarded him with the title of Prince of the Mountains, granting him autonomy in the easternmost part of Anatolia. Thus, the internal strife was resolved and Murad's authority was firmly established. Meanwhile, the Serbs had taken notice of Ottoman victories and decided they needed to do something about it. They rallied other Balkan principalities and formed a huge army of around 200,000 men to stop the Ottomans. The two sides met at the Maritsa River near the modern-day Bulgarian-Serbian border, and what happened next would become one of the most famous battles in medieval history, the Battle of Maritsa in 1371. We've already made a detailed video about the Battle of Maritsa, so make sure to watch it. But to summarize, despite being outnumbered, the Ottomans won a decisive victory. Murad personally led the charge, breaking through the enemy lines and causing widespread panic. Many Christian nobles fell in battle, including Serbian Prince Stefan Uros, while others fled. Abandoning their troops, Ottoman forces pursued them relentlessly, catching up and annihilating the stragglers. The sheer scale of casualties among the nobility and the common soldiers alike stunned both Murad and his enemies. This resounding victory marked a pivotal moment in the Ottoman conquest of the Balkans. It cleared the path for further expansion into Serbia and solidified Ottoman supremacy in the region. Murad's strategic brilliance and tactical prowess had once again been proven, establishing his reputation as a great conqueror. The easy victory emboldened Murad's ambitions. He started planning to extend his influence into the heart of the Balkans, aiming to conquer the Serbian despotate. His plan involved two approaches, one through Macedonia under the command of his brother Jakub, and the other along the Morava Valley led by his vizier, Edhem Pasha. Despite initial resistance, the Ottomans gradually gained the upper hand. Jakub's forces pushed forward from the west, while Edhem's troops advanced from the east, forcing the Serbians to retreat towards the city of Pristina. At the same time, an Ottoman naval force of 200 ships appeared in the Adriatic Sea off the coast of the Venetian city of Durazzo, threatening the retreating Serbs. Murad's plan was to trap the Serbian army between his land forces advancing from two directions and the threat of Ottoman naval landing parties on their flanks. However, the Serbians managed to slip past these pincers and reach the safety of the Danube River. Undeterred, Murad pursued the fleeing Serbian army along the river. As the Ottoman forces approached Belgrade, the main Serbian stronghold, they encountered stiff resistance. Despite the challenge, the Ottomans persisted, laying siege to the city. For several weeks, Murad invested his resources to weaken the Serbian defenses, employing siege engines and artillery to bombard the fortress walls. However, the siege of Belgrade proved to be more arduous than anticipated. Even though the Ottomans achieved some success in breaching the outer defenses, they faced fierce Serbian resistance within the city. As the siege dragged on, Murad grew increasingly frustrated by the stubborn Serbian defense. He had hoped for a swift victory to consolidate his hold on the Balkans, but the situation in Belgrade was far from conclusive. Realizing the need to adapt, Murad decided to shift his tactics. Instead of solely relying on brute force, he began employing psychological warfare. He sent envoys to Belgrade offering the Serbian ruler, Prince Lazar, terms of surrender. Murad's message was clear. Resistance was futile, and any further defiance would only lead to greater destruction. As the siege continued, the pressure on Prince Lazar intensified. Faced with dwindling resources and relentless Ottoman attacks, Lazar began to consider Murad's offers. Negotiations took place, and eventually an agreement was reached. Belgrade fell, bringing an end to the siege. The Ottomans had scored a significant victory, cementing their dominance in the region. And this is where we come across one of the biggest ironies of Murad's reign. When he finally managed to subdue the entire Balkans, he thought it's time to settle things with the pesky Hungarians once and for all. The Ottoman army under Murad's direct command crossed the Danube and entered Hungary. Although the Hungarian king never faced Murad's forces in battle, instead choosing to hide behind his fortress walls, Murad pressed forward, laying siege to several Hungarian cities. During the campaign, Murad displayed both military prowess and diplomatic skill. He engaged in tactical maneuvers to outmaneuver the enemy, and also employed psychological warfare to demoralize defenders. One notable tactic he used was constructing towers near the walls of cities. Under siege, from these towers, archers could shoot arrows directly into the top of the city walls, causing them to collapse and opening breaches for the Ottoman infantry to pour through. However, his plans were interrupted by news from the capital. His brother Jakub had raised a rebellion, refusing to accept Murad's authority. Unable to fully engage the Hungarians, Murad was forced to return home to deal with the situation. On his way back, he learned that the Hungarian king Louis had invaded Rumelia. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Murad left his baggage and most of his supplies behind and marched swiftly to intercept the invaders. Murad I's response to the Hungarian invasion showcased his adaptability and determination. Despite facing logistical challenges and dealing with a domestic rebellion, he prioritized the defense of his realm, demonstrating his commitment to protecting Ottoman interests. This display of leadership and quick thinking highlighted the complexity of his reign, balancing multiple threats and responsibilities simultaneously. His rear guard, however, wasn't as successful. While they managed to avoid complete destruction, they suffered heavy losses. Realizing the risk to his overall campaign, Murad made the difficult decision to abandon his baggage train. This ensured that at least his army would remain intact and capable of defending his territory. Upon returning to Anatolia, Murad swiftly dealt with his brother's rebellion, suppressing it with force. He then turned his attention to the northern threat posed by the Hungarians. Gathering his forces, Murad embarked on a campaign to expel Louis from Ottoman territory. Meanwhile, the Hungarian king, confident in his territorial gains, began to consolidate his position in Rumelia. Louis reorganized his administration, focusing on resource extraction to sustain his military operations. He appointed loyal officials to manage the provinces and levied heavy taxes on the local populations. These measures aimed to generate revenue to support his ongoing campaign against the Ottomans. As Louis fortified his position in Rumelia, Murad prepared for a counter-offensive. Aware that he faced a formidable opponent in King Louis, Murad assembled a powerful army. He drew troops not only from Anatolia, but also from his newly conquered territories in the Balkans. Among them were the Janissaries, a newly established elite infantry force that played a crucial role in Ottoman victories. With his army assembled, Murad launched a determined campaign to expel the Hungarians from Ottoman soil. Battles and skirmishes ensued as Murad's forces clashed with Louis's troops across the region. The outcome of these engagements would have profound implications for the fate of the Balkans and the balance of power in medieval Europe. The stage was set for a decisive confrontation, and as the armies of Murad and Louis clashed on the battlefield, the struggle for dominance in the Balkans reached its climax. The events that unfolded would shape the course of history and leave a lasting impact on the region. So this is it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed learning more about the fascinating life of Murad I, the Sultan of Conquerors. If you want to get more videos about historical people like Murad, then please subscribe to our channel and tell us what you think of this video in the comments below.